Good morning and welcome to NewsWare's Trade Talk for Wednesday, July 1st. Okay, we're taking a look at the S&Ps. We're down 0.2% this morning. It's going to be another quiet session, but the key today really is going to be this ECB annual forum in Portugal. At 9 a.m., there's going to be a panel where the major central bank leaders are going to be participating. We're going to get some highlights from it before the market opens, so that's going to be something interesting to watch. On the other front, you get the U.S. and Iran talks, which, reportedly they're progressing well. President Trump's already out there saying he's committed to pursuing a diplomatic resolution. He's very reluctant to re-engage in hostilities, so this is actually good news. That U.S., Mexico, Canada agreement known as the USMCA, that review process begins today. We'll see if that comes up with anything today. On the economic calendar today, we got jobless claims. We get the ISM manufacturing index. Those are going to be the two key ones. In corporate news, Philip Morris gets the FDA nod for their modified tobacco product orders for 20 different Zyn products, which is kind of positive. U.S. Supreme Court is going to hear that Apple antitrust case with Epic Games. On the earnings front, Constellation Brands, FDS, General Mills, MSN, they're all trading higher after their earnings releases. But Nike, ticker NKE, is moving slightly lower this morning. Okay, now we're moving on. We're talking about the European markets, and we got to talk about the DAX. The DAX has just turned negative. It's now down 0.03% or 6 points. Banks, retail, and tech shares, they are weak. In London, the FTSE is down 0.6%. We got weakness in the mining stocks in Paris. The CAC is down about 1%, with financial stocks leading that index lower. Looking over at Asia, Asia was, essentially green. I mean, the Nikkei finished up 412 points, which is 0.59%. The yen continues to weaken, which, benefits the exporters. So, and the sentiment was also boosted by the BOJ, quarterly report on the, sentiment, which was positive. So, that's good to see. Hong Kong, the Hang Seng was closed for a market holiday. In China, the Shanghai finished higher by 0.44%, on stronger than expected factory activity data. Don't we take a look at oil? And the oil, remains weak. It's down about 1%. You get WTI at $68.85. You got Brent at $72.05. The talks the talks between the U.S. and Iran remain the key focal point. The IGRC really seems to be controlling a lot of the narrative here. They are talking about there's not going to be an agreement unless they have the rights to control the Strait of Hormuz, which includes tariffs. So, that's not going to fly very well. So Trump is saying he's willing to let the negotiations go on for as long as it takes because, you can't have tolls there. API data last night fell by 6.072 million barrels for the week ending June 26th. Let's take a look over at earnings action. Let's start off with Constellation Brands, which is ticker STZ. Stock's trading higher by 2.17%. They beat by 23 cents. They did it on higher revenue. Nike, on the other hand, is lower by 1.19%. They delivered a beat of 59 cents on higher revenue, though, but the guidance wasn't good. Then there's General Mills, ticker GIS. Stock's up 3.98%. They beat by 15 cents, and they only met on revenue expectations. In terms of economic reports this morning, the ADP employment data is coming out. 8:30 a.m. we get the jobless claims. At 10 a.m. we get the manufacturing index. At 10:30 we get the EIA inventory report. And then at 9 a.m. that's when that Sinatra panel begins. Fed Chair Kevin Walsh will be speaking. In terms of Fed stocks, we got Apple CEO talking about how he's having constructive talks with the EU regulators over the Siri AI. Amazon restrictions on Anthropic's Fable 5 AI model has been lifted by the U.S. government. Google, that Clara was awarded compensation for lost revenue, which was caused by Google's preferred treatment over its own comparison shopping service. That's it was a big hit. BYD is set to take over Tesla as the top electronic car seller. Google shuts down its Tenor API to focus on its core products. Microsoft and HLN, Haleon announced a 5-year collaboration. In terms of merger news, Kroger, they're buying food and pharmacy retailer Giant Eagle for $1.65 billion. In terms of guidance news, Progressive, PRGS, Progressive Software, they see full year 2026 EPS coming in at $6.09 to $6.21. Street estimates $5.98. That's a definite uptick. General Mills sees full year 2027 EPS coming in $3 to $2.20. Street estimates $3.13. That's okay. In terms of catalyst calls, Carmen, that's ticker KRMN, Kilo, Richard, Michael, Nancy, Citibank cuts its price target, but it adds it to its 90-day positive catalyst watch list. Okay, we're going to move on and we're going to talk about our pick of the day. And, I do like Netflix today. I do think there's going to be some action there. It's being mentioned as a possible suitor for NBC. Yesterday's call volume, 259K versus 131K. That's a 0.51 put-to-call ratio. Open interest is 3 million to 2.2 million on the put side, positive. Major brokers still have price targets over 100, like that. For me, I want to get in. Netflix 72.30 is kind of my entry point, but it could fall down to 72.10. So somewhere 72.25, I'll say, is an entry point. All right, now we're moving on to our hot off the press segment, where we look for news that's in the tape this morning, see if we see anything hot and exciting. NASDAQ reports record $129.3 billion raised in the first half of 2026. Russia started seaborne gasoline imports from India. Interesting. Las Vegas Sands, LVS, Macau reports June casino revenue down 12%. Not good. Getty Images terminates its merger agreement with Shutterstock. Goodyear Tire to replace Stellar Bancorp in the S&P 600 on July 6th. Papa John's PZZA, they did a CFO's leaving for another position. Oh, that Medicare pilot program goes into effect today for the GLP-1 drugs. It's positive for Lilly. Department of Energy approves OKLO's DSA for Grove's isotope test reactor. That's all I'm seeing. Okay, now we're going to talk about yesterday's pick of the day, which was Nike. I mean, the stock opened up at $41.38, and then it fell below my $41.25 entry price, and then it ran back up to $41.64, which is just about 1%. But then, after the market, it did hit over $42 twice. So, the 1% was there. But it's still cautious on it. The stock has limited downside because it's so undervalued right now. But we'll have to wait and see if it goes even higher. But the 1% was made yesterday. All right, traders, that concludes today's podcast. You guys know what to do. Let's go out there and make some green today.